Hello everyone and welcome to Large Group. So we are super excited to have you here in our watch party style large group brought to you by COVID. So tonight I'm super excited to have you here. We're going to do some worship. We're going to hear an awesome message from Pastor Mike out of Luke. And then we are going to discuss the passage and what we heard in your WITCOMs. And then we have a special opportunity that we're able to bless campus with. Straight out of the application of this week. So I'm super excited to have that. Holly's gonna give you instructions on that at the end. So I'm super excited to see how you guys can bless campus out of tonight's large group. So the only announcement I have outside of that is Catalyst is going to be October 24th and 23rd. So what this is going to be is, unfortunately, we can't go to Green Lake this year, but we are going to do the next best thing, and we're going to bring Catalyst to campus. So you're going to meet in your WITCOMs. We're going to do a couple community builders as a chapter, and then we're going to get the same great content that we would at Catalyst to help us continue to grow in our faith this semester. So I'm excited, and we are working out the details, so there will be more to come, and there'll be more registration info coming as well. So I'm excited to spend that weekend with you guys. So with that, we will head into worship.
You came to the world you created, trading your crown for a cross. You willingly died, your innocent life paid the cost. And counting your status as nothing, the King of all kings came to serve, washing my feet and covering me with your love. If more of you means less of me, take everything. And yes, all of you is all I need. Take everything.
You are my life and my treasure, the one that I can't live without. Here at your feet, my desires and dreams I lay down.
Oh, here at your feet, my desires and dreams I lay down. Oh, if more of you means less of me, take everything. And yes, all of you is all I need. Take everything. If more of you means less of me, take everything. Yes, all of you is all I need. Take everything.
Oh Lord, change me like only you can. Here with my heart in your hands, Father, I pray, make me more like Jesus.
And this world is dying to know who you are. You've shown us the way to your heart. So Father, I pray, make me more like Jesus. Oh Lord, change me like only you can.
Would you take it all from me, please? Anything that's not from you, would you remove it right now, Lord? Just take it all, take it all.
More of you means less of me.
Take it all,
Oh, take everything, Lord.
withhold nothing.
Oh, Jesus, you're all we need. So we surrender all to you, Jesus. Oh.
Good evening, Platteville University. My name is Mike Weiss, and I am a pastor out of a church here in Milwaukee, Redeemer Evangelical Free Church. Thanks for having me on one of your coffee shop discussions on the Gospel of Luke. I too brought my own cup of coffee to have, and I hope you're all doing well, and I hope that this video will be helpful in your discussion tonight. I've been tasked with discussing the topic of giving. And money is generally not a conversation we like to talk about on the day-to-day, and even more so when it comes to the subject of giving it away. And often there's this negative connotation for when a pastor talks about giving because it seems self-serving. Recognizing those barriers, I want to get down to the why it is good to give and why we should give. But first, I feel as if we need to call out the obvious. The God of the universe does not want, nor does he need your money. He is not a divine being who is in need of a loan. He is not a freeloader looking to be supported by his churches so he can have bigger buildings, better programs, or more butts in the seats. God is not wanting a slice of your salary as a membership fee so you can stay in the book of life. God is none of those things. And the reason why God is not in need of your money, nor does he want it, is because God is the ultimate giver of things. And his son Jesus shows us this and shows the ultimate giving by going to the cross and giving himself up for everyone, rich, poor, outcast, incast, whoever. And this is the model that we're to follow. So God is the giver here. God doesn't need our money, but what God wants is something more than that. God wants your heart. And it's not a coincidence how money and your heart are two things that are connected. Jesus says earlier in this gospel, where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. And in a consumeristic culture that we live in, where businesses and commercials and products are built around the model of you will be happy if you have more of, and look, are all the things that you buy evil or wicked? No. Is it wrong to spend? Not necessarily. But I would also say that it is very easy to trade your heart for something material. And so this is what makes this text that we're about to read so beautiful, because we see a contrast here of what it is to give and what it is to do so with your heart. So Luke 21 verses 1 through 4, let me read it for you. It says this: Jesus looked up and saw the rich dropping their offerings into the temple treasury. He also saw a poor widow dropping in 2 tiny coins. Truly I tell you, he said, this poor widow has put in more than all of them. For all these people have put in gifts out of their surplus, but she, out of her poverty, has put in all she had to live on. To really get into this text, I want to help us understand more context here and the parties involved and why Jesus commends the heart of the widow over the heart of the rich man who gave in great quantity. First, let's talk about the heart of the rich man. And what we have to notice is about this text is the events that took place before this. There was a confrontation between Jesus and the temple authorities. And Jesus had taught about their pride and also gave a warning about what not to do. And he was talking specifically about the men who reveled in their materialism. These guys had long robes. They had their special gatherings. They were invited to all these different feasts and festivals. And these were the kind of guys who had a lot. These were the kind of religious guys that were very worldly. And so Jesus points out that as these men are giving, they're giving out of a surplus. In other words, they're giving out of more of a token or ceremonial response, really more of a giving as a way to either look good or giving as a way to kind of as out of obligation. And this is not the kind of giving that is worth following. I don't know if you've ever heard of this little company called Amazon, but they used to be about selling books. Now they sell everything. The founder and CEO, Jeff Bezos, has amassed himself quite a bit of wealth, and he's taken a good amount of criticism for his charitable donations, or rather lack of. Doing a little research on the charitableness of Bezos, according to the Chronicle of Philanthropy, between the year 2000 and 2017, he had given $68 million in charity. And this past February, he gave $10 billion to fight climate change. Now, whether or not you agree with his causes, I think we can agree that's quite a chunk of change, right, that he's given away. So why is he receiving criticism? Why are people calling him out? Well, Forbes magazine back in March noted that the net worth of Jeff Bezos is $204.6 billion, nearly $90 billion more than the world's second richest person, Bill Gates. So in other words, if we do the math here, and I'm a pastor, so I'm not really great at math, so if this is wrong, feel free to email and correct me. But if we look at the math here, that means that 0.05% of his net worth actually goes to charities. Now look, I'm not trying to make Jeff Bezos sound like a bad guy. I really don't know him. I don't know his heart. In fact, I buy a lot from him because I use Amazon quite a bit. For books, of course. But if those numbers are indeed true, then let's be honest, right? We can't say that that's necessarily giving, even though it's a lot of money, even though it'd be pretty great to just receive $1 million. The kind of giving for a guy like Jeff Bezos is not very sacrificial. In no way can we say it's him giving until it hurts. And I think that helps us to understand what Jesus is seeing from the giving of the rich men in this text. They are not giving sacrificially. If anything, they are giving out of the leftovers. But here enters this woman to the temple. And what do we know about widows in this time and place? Widows represented the most vulnerable in society, whom the pious people were supposed to actually serve. The poverty of the widow is described by people in need or in want. So here's someone who's coming to the temple who has not a whole lot to give, and she's offering something that would have been pretty laughable to all those in attendance. It was the smallest offering that was ever made by anyone. We're talking about 2 coins, which were 1/100th of a denarius, or 5 minutes of labor at minimum wage, as one commentary puts it. This is the kind of offering that would have gone unnoticed, and yet this is the offering that Jesus says is the greatest. Well, how? Well, let's talk about the heart of the widow. In God's eyes, God measures not in the size of the gift, but the heart behind it. One of my commentaries noted that we are reminded that in God's economy, it is not the quantity of money given, but it is the quality, as evaluated by the worshiping heart behind the gift. Here is a woman who has nothing, but yet she gives, and there's a few reasons why she gives, why we also give as well. Number one, because we have this mindset that everything is owned by God anyway, and we're just stewards of what we own, and so when we are giving back to God what is His. The second is this: we trust God to be our provider, meaning that we believe God is the one who will provide for our needs. Number 3, when we give, we are submitting control over our money to God so that our money doesn't control us. And look, there is a reason why people are in debt today, and I don't just mean college students, I mean just people in general sometimes want something, they'll buy something, they'll use money that they don't have, and then find themselves in trouble later, and that's because they've allowed money to control them as opposed to the other way around. When we think about the why that we give, there are some really big faith steps that are done when we do put money into an offering plate, or when we give to our missionaries, or when we give to a ministry cause of some sort. Offering is another way of worship, just like how worship is to sing songs to God or to read His Word or to be in fellowship with one another. And so this is why the gift of the widow is so much more valuable to Jesus and far superior of the gift of the rich man, because the woman here is giving out of a heart that loves God, that wants to worship Him, versus the men who really aren't taking God serious. They're just giving out of their surplus and not out of a care for God. So now, knowing the groups of people we're talking about, let's now talk about our hearts as a response. Again, God does not want your money, but He does want your heart. So this text calls us to examine our motivations for giving. Do you give out of obligation? Do you give out of pride? Or do you not give at all because you feel as if that you cannot? And I think this text gives a response to those three groups of people. Let's talk about giving to the Lord out of pride. And please recognize that if this is you, if you are someone who you give because you try to make yourself look good, maybe you brag about it, maybe you post about it, I don't know what you kids do. Here's the thing. The quantity is not what is appealing to the Lord. It's the heart behind it. And I think in a lot of ways, there are people who will give as a way to, in a twist, actually buy compliments instead of doing so with a heart of generosity. So we don't want to be that. If you're giving out of obligation, I would refer you to 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 6 through 7, and the words of the Apostle Paul on that. In fact, I'll read just real quick. In verse 7, he says, "Each one of you must give as he has decided to in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver." Giving out of obligation, I would argue, is on the same level of giving out of pride. In this case, rather than giving to receive blessings from people, you're giving to check off some religious duty checklist. And it's not worship if your heart is apathetic or cold and you're just going through the motions of it. So please keep that in mind. And my wife Cora and I give, and that might seem counterintuitive because we work for a church. So in a sense, it seems like we're giving to ourselves to have a paycheck. But that's not why we do it. We give because it's part of our worship. It's part of trusting that what God has given to us, we still give back anyway, even though we're employed by the church. If you're not able to give because you feel as if you're in a season where you can't, and look, I know who I'm talking to. I know I'm talking to broke college kids. I was one myself, where maybe you're having to work one or two jobs to take care of your tuition. Maybe there are other bills that you're having to get paid for. We're in this COVID-19 reality right now where things are even tighter. I understand that for some of us, we feel as if we cannot give, and even if we did give, it would be an embarrassing small amount. This is where I want to challenge you just to look in your heart and consider this. If we're giving with the right heart, if we're giving out as a way to respond to God as an act of worship, there is no amount that you could give that God will turn His nose on, that God will be like, wow, man, what a cheapskate, right? So I would challenge you to consider, if you're in that position, and maybe you can't give financially no matter what, there are other ways you can give, whether it be your time or your resources to others. But here's the point. If you know you have the ability to give something, maybe even something small and what you think is insignificant, God can use that. Especially when you choose to give alongside others, God can make something incredible out of that. A couple of years back, I took a team of high school students on a week-long missions trip to Zumpango, Guatemala. And from there, we partnered with a ministry called Breaking Cycles, which focused on breaking the cycles of poverty and lack of education for children in the community that they were in. And this was an organization that we fell in love with. We fell in love with the people. And after we had come home, we still wanted to keep a relationship with them. And we had heard about this scholarship program that the ministry was putting together to put 14 kids through a school year. And so, keeping that in mind, we challenged our students to consider giving to that cause. And we said, this is going to mean some of you are going to give a whole paycheck or a day's wage, or some of you are going to have to give away your allowances or saved money that you were going to use for something else. We're going to ask you to give to this cause. Something you need to know about me is that I can be a bit of a cynic. And on the night that we took the offering, I remember thinking, okay, we might not get a whole lot of money here, so I was trying to think of backup plans. And our church actually had said that, hey, we're gonna match whatever your students come up with. On this night of youth group, we had the lowest attended night of the year. We had only 22 students. And so I felt like, oh boy, this offering is not going to get a whole lot. We're going to be in a little bit of trouble here. We passed the offering plate. And at the end of the night, I remember getting the plate and starting to count through how much we collected. Our group of 22 students that night gave together $600. I couldn't believe it. I did not think that we were going to have that. I thought maybe $100. I have to believe that God was up in heaven looking down at me going, oh, ye of little faith, Pastor Mike. And so then with that, our church matched it. And so we ended up sending $1,200 to the scholarship program. And we were able to put a young boy, Danny, through a whole year of school with supplies included. Not bad for a small youth group out of Milwaukee. But then again, that's what God does. He takes those small things and he knows how to use it. That's where I want to leave you all at here this evening. I love the ministry of InterVarsity, and I hope you're all doing well, especially in this really weird time. But I would encourage and invite you that this is a time where yes, while life is challenging, there are more ways that you can bless and impact your surrounding community. So I invite you to consider, to check your heart and do some work there and ask the Lord, God, what can I give? And Lord, do I trust you as my provider? And I firmly believe whatever you do give, it will be from the heart, it will be out of worship, and it will be something that God does with it. Thanks for having me on with you guys. Blessings to you and your chapter. Take care.
Hi guys, I wanted to let you know real quick about a great opportunity that we have to serve the student health service workers here on our own campus. So it's obvious by now that COVID-19 has had a huge impact on our campus, and because Platteville has such a small health department, it's really putting a toll on the few physical and mental health workers that we do have. So in order to show our appreciation for all that they're doing, and hopefully in an attempt to alleviate some of the stress in their profession and their home life, we are planning to create care packages for the entire health service department. But in order to do this, we could really use your help. So basically what we need is things to put into these care packages. We're thinking things like sugars, snacks, coffee, food, or food gift cards, fidget toys, or really anything else fun that you guys can think of. I know you're creative, so you'll come up with something fun. In order to keep things organized and so that we don't buy in redundancy, Elizabeth will be creating a registry in a way that she is sharing with all of the WITCOM leaders. That way we can keep track of the things that have already been bought and only buy the things that we still need. So from that registry, we're just asking that each WITCOM would take a couple things off of the list and buy those. And then once you have a car full of goodies, you can talk to Tim and set up a time where you can drop all of your stuff off with him before fall break so that we are able to have everything collected before everybody goes off on the long weekend that's coming up. Oh, one more thing. While you're out searching for things to buy for the health workers, also keep in mind your hall janitors, because these are people that have also been working super hard, kind of behind the scenes in order to ensure that our dorms are staying super clean and super healthy. So it might be nice to consider buying them a little thank you gift as well. Then if you guys have time right now, it would be a great time to start pooling money together and forming a WITCOM budget, and then designate a time where you guys will all go to Walmart or whatever store and just purchase all of the goodies. So yeah, I think that's it. If you guys have any questions at all, please reach out to either Mindy, myself, or the other LT members, and we will be happy to help in any way that we can. Thank you guys all so much, and I look forward to seeing you all really soon.